Welcome to Your Path to Nonprofit Leadership, the weekly podcast that features the very best in career development in the nonprofit sector. I'm your host, Patton McDowell, and committed to bringing you ideas and resources that will help you build your professional development plan. Thanks for listening. If you're a current nonprofit leader or you hope to be one, you're in the right place. I'm glad to bring you these weekly conversations with nonprofit leaders who are on the cutting edge of our sector. And if you would, do me a favor, share this episode with one other person so we can continue to build a global community focused on nonprofit leadership. Well, I've got a solo episode for you today, and it's because I want to help you with a summer tune-up around your professional development plan. This episode is being released in July of 2021, and of course, I think the summer offers all of us a chance to reflect, in particular, given our emergence from a pandemic. Reflection has been a key element in all of our lives. Certainly, as we contemplate every aspect of what we do, of course, the new skills and experiences we had to learn, the technologies, we've had to revisit our jobs, literally how we do our jobs. And I would imagine you have pondered not only doing your job better, but maybe you're at a point where you're considering, is this the time to contemplate a new challenge on the nonprofit career ladder? Well, whether or not you're just simply trying to do your current job better, or you're considering the next step on your career journey, this episode's for you. I'm going to give you a 4-part framework to reimagine your professional development plan and help you get your wheels turning around some of those skills and experiences that you need to develop to assure senior leadership in the nonprofit sector. Now, don't forget to check out the show notes. This is episode number 115, because I'm going to reference a couple of other episodes that might be helpful to you, in particular number 56, where I detail the 10 key skills and experiences I believe are critical for nonprofit leadership. And this episode, in fact, builds upon that one. How do you take your skills and experiences wherever you are on each of them and, in fact, be more intentional about a plan to improve? So if you're looking for the show notes, again, episode number 115, just go to the podcast or the news page at pattonmcdowell.com, and you'll find these links that I've mentioned, as well as ways to connect with me. In fact, while you're on our website, I hope you will do just that. We're on all of the social media platforms. I am as well. LinkedIn in particular is the preferred method of communication. But you can also email me. You can go to the bottom of our homepage and get on our email list so you won't miss any of the free resources we're providing each week, including episodes like this one. And while you're at the bottom of our homepage, there's a simple link you can click on and contact us. Schedule a free 15-minute call with me, and we can talk about what your organization might need in terms of strategic planning or engaging your board, or in light of this episode, let's talk about where you're going on your nonprofit career journey. And I'd be happy to talk to you about our coaching, our training programs, or our mastermind programs. In fact, this episode is being sponsored by PMA's Mastermind Leadership Development Program. I'm really excited about the upcoming fall cohorts. We're accepting applications right now. And having been through 3 different cohorts, I'm seeing the value of this program even more. And if you're listening to this episode as it's released, again, in July of 2021, it's not too late to register for the early bird. Apply before August 1, 2021, and you can maintain our previous rates before the rates go up. Or you can also look at a contest we're offering for a free spot in the fall cohort. You've got to get your application in for that before August 19th. Again, all of this will be available in the show notes, and you can find it if you go within our website to the Leadership Development page, and you'll see lots more about the PMA Mastermind Program. Speaking of the Mastermind cohorts, I've got to give a shout out to the current summer 2021 cohort. They are a fantastic group of leaders. Talk about a group that is not only effective at coaching, each of them individually are fantastic leaders, but they're also very willing to be coached and open up and share some of the challenges and opportunities within each of their career settings right now. And that's, of course, what is the hallmark of the Mastermind program. In this group, we've got Lisa Baxter from the MLK Community Health Foundation in Los Angeles, Kristen Beck, an Executive Director from Social Venture Partners in Charlotte, Brian Clark's an Executive Director at NC State University, the Poole College of Management. Leah Fitzpatrick is the Director of Development Strategy for the Marine Corps Scholarship Foundation. Amy Jackson's an Assistant VP of Foundation Relations Development at Wingate University. Lindsay LaPlante is the Executive Director of Refugee Support Services of the Carolinas. Sims Oliphant is the new Development Director at the Charleston Symphony Orchestra. And Adam Wassel is the Senior Director of Development at Pi Kappa Alpha Foundation out of Memphis, Tennessee. They really are all-stars and representative of the types of individuals, perhaps like you, that could benefit from this kind of program and frankly thrive because of the network this program will create. Now, before I get into the framework, the 4 defining elements that I'm going to suggest you put your own self-assessment through, let's go back to the 10 skills and experiences that I think are critical for success in the nonprofit sector. And what I'm going to do is suggest as you ponder these 10, which I'll review quickly, again, go back to episode number 56 if you want even greater detail. But what we're going to do is take these 10 and put them through what I call a SCOT analysis. And of course, many of you are familiar with a SWOT analysis, SWOT, standing for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. The SCOT variation is simply the word challenge instead of weaknesses. I think it sounds a little bit better. A challenge is something we can overcome. So we're going to talk about strengths, challenges, opportunities, and threats. And thus, the acronym SCOT analysis is what we're going to talk about today. Now, we use a worksheet, I call it a professional skills worksheet through the Mastermind program, and I'll share it with you in this episode so you can get a taste for the discussions that go on in that program. But the 10 skills and experiences are as follows. Number 1, strategic planning. If you're going to be effective as a nonprofit leader, you're certainly going to have evidence of an ability to develop a long-term plan for both personal and professional success for you and your colleagues that you are leading. The second thing we talk about is the evidence of a learning plan. When organizations talk to you, they want to know that not only you have the requisite skills and experiences now, but you have a plan to get better. Do you know the content areas that you need to continue to learn about? Do you understand the skills through your self-assessment that you need to sharpen? And that, of course, will assure long-term success in the nonprofit arena. Number 3 is what I call personal organization skills. There is no doubt that the volume of information and activity coming at you at a nonprofit leader will only multiply as you move forward in nonprofit leadership. You need to have a clear system that captures all of the content and input and data that you're going to have to manage. You have to have a system to prioritize it and, frankly, assess progress in real time. The 4th area you need to master is what I would call nonprofit and sector expertise. In other words, not just expertise about the organization with which you work, but understanding the broader issues that affect all of the philanthropic community. What are the key trends, the issues, and other things related to philanthropy, nonprofit management, programming within your sector? Nonprofit leaders are expected to see more broadly than just the organization within their current work frame. The 5th area I'm always hearing about, and one that I struggled with early in my nonprofit leadership, was financial acumen. I was a program guy, a liberal arts major, and I have learned very quickly, or did learn very quickly, that you've got to understand the business that is nonprofit, organizational management, budget, HR, all of these things within the broader operational aspect of financial acumen. Can you discuss your organization's current budget and the related economic conditions that affect it, and certainly the broader economic conditions that affect your sector and organizations with which you might work in the future? The next few skills and experiences I put into my top 10 are really more on the skill side. Number 6 is speaking, the ability to communicate effectively in different settings. Of course, the classic public speaking arena that you will have to perform as a nonprofit leader, but also the other forms of communication, whether it's presentation at a board meeting or the informal settings of having to stand up in front of your team meeting. All of these forms of speaking will be vital to your success, not the least of which is the likelihood of an interview where your communication skills will be put to the test as a group evaluates your candidacy for leadership. Number 7 is your ability to write, your ability to communicate in different formats, from whether it be narrative, a persuasive fundraising letter, whether you're having to put a business-type memo together for your board chair, or the ability to write a handwritten note to your best donor and show an authentic appreciation for their support of your organization. But these different writing skills and formats are indeed critical to nonprofit leadership. Number 8 is what I would call the listening, conversation, interpersonal skills. A bit harder sometimes to put your finger on it, but are you a good listener? And many of us, as we focus on what we're going to say, we interrupt. And so the ability to show active listening skills to help reframe conversations is an essential leadership skill, and it's one we have to develop and have to be very intentional about as part of this broader communication set of skills that speaking, writing, and in this case, listening and conversation are indeed a part of. Number 9 is what I would call strategic networking. Can you demonstrate evidence of civic or community-based networking that allows you and your organization to stay connected with others in your field, in your sector, in your community? And certainly this ability is critical as more and more funders and more community leaders want to assure that you and your organization work well with others. Collaboration and other types of partnership are going to be very much part of the nonprofit landscape. They have been, they are now, and they will be in the future. And so your ability to network and to see these opportunities even before they are formalized is going to be clear evidence of your nonprofit leadership ability. Last but not least, in our list of 10 skills and experiences on which I think you need to focus for senior leadership in the nonprofit sector is, in fact, leadership itself. And many of you haven't yet had the opportunity to lead an organization. So how do you demonstrate that? Well, there are many ways you can do so. Wherever you are on the ladder of nonprofit career success, you manage projects, you lead committees, you lead volunteers, you interact with other staff, your board. There are ways you can demonstrate leadership within your organization, and often you might be able to practice or refine these skills in organization at which you volunteer and other community activities that allow you to sharpen these skills, which in fact allow you to better illustrate your ability to lead a nonprofit organization. All right, so let me recap for you as you are driving or working out or mowing the grass or whatever you're doing as you listen to me talk about nonprofit leadership. There are 10 things, again, I'm suggesting you should self-evaluate, and I'm going to give you a framework to take these and take them a step further and activate a plan to help you even more. The 10 items again: number 1, strategic planning. Number 2, evidence of a lifelong learning plan. Number 3, a personal organization system. Number 4, your ability to understand and articulate issues within the broader nonprofit sector. Number 5, a clear understanding of the financial and the acumen necessary to run a nonprofit business. Number 6, public speaking and communication. Number 7, writing in all forms. Number 8, the ability to effectively listen and engage in conversation in a meaningful and active listening way. Number 9, strategic networking within your sector, within your community, and helping connect your organization to others. And then finally, evidence of leadership, whether that's through projects or committee work or volunteers, whatever it is, you need to continue to hone your skills as a leader. Now, if you're like me, you're probably thinking, all right, well, I probably could do some work on all 10 of those things. And of course, you're right. These are things that I think need to be part of your active lifelong learning plan from now on. But the reality is you can't focus on all 10 of them at once, and you don't need to. And what I'm suggesting, if you can imagine a grid of 4 quadrants, let's put these 10 items into at least one of 2. Is it a strength for you, or is it a challenge for you? Take all 10 and decide which ones you have reasonable competency, or in fact, maybe you excel, then they need to go in the strengths quadrant. I put it in the top left. So if I'm a good public speaker, I'm going to put public speaking in that top left quadrant in my personal SCOT analysis. Now here's the difference. Instead of just putting it into a grid, what I'm encouraging you to do is think about how do you leverage that skill. If it is public speaking for you, how do you leverage that skill to advance your career opportunities even further? In other words, do you have opportunities to speak? And I would wager you don't have as many as you'd like to. It's a skill you have, and you need to find ways to get on stages, if you will. And now that we're coming out of the pandemic, there will be more live events, conferences, sessions, board meetings. How do we find opportunities for you to get into a public speaking setting, which allows you to even improve that skill further? So what you might do is identify that goal as one of 2 strengths you're going to build upon. Your strategy might be to think about in the next 90 days, how can you get into a public speaking opportunity? Maybe it's leading a meeting. Maybe it's introducing someone else at a conference that you're now going to attend this fall. There are lots of ways you can do that, but you need to be intentional. Maybe you introduce the speaker at your fall board meeting or some fall event that your nonprofit is doing. But the point is, think about a skill and then identify 2 or 3 specific ways to maximize that skill even further. You notice I'm not starting with your challenge areas. In fact, too often, a lot of our professional development focus is on the negative. It's on the challenge. It's on the weakness, whatever you call it, within your annual review process. And I would suggest do just the opposite. Where are you strongest? And let's find ways to maximize that even further. Now, yes, there are going to be some things that do belong in the other quadrant in your SCOT analysis. If you can imagine strengths in the top left, maybe your challenges is the quadrant in the top right. Now, we can work on all 10. Again, I admit that. But what are the 2 challenge areas of the 10 I listed for you that you most need to focus? Let's pick 2. And similarly, let's address those 2 challenge areas over the next 90 days to 6 months. Again, if my challenge is written communication, then I need to find 2 or 3 ways in the next 90 days to begin to develop those skills further. Where can I exercise my basic written communication and be intentional about making it even better? Let's say that one of my challenges was financial acumen, and in fact it was for me personally. Well, one thing I could do if I were revisiting that challenge, and one thing I did when I first realized that was going to be an area of weakness, I scheduled a couple of meetings with the organization's CFO, the chief finance or business officer, the person with the most expertise in my organization around the budget. And I just simply offered this. That person, if they're willing to meet, and I bet they will if you approach them respectfully, and I said, hey, help me understand the 3 key revenue drivers of this organization. For me, it was Special Olympics North Carolina. But with a second question, I said also help me understand the key expense drivers that really make or break this organization. And each of those 6 items, again, 3 key revenue drivers, 3 key expense drivers, help me understand the budget in a much more effective way. And again, I was very fortunate. I had someone that she sat down with me and helped me understand the financial reports that the board saw at each of their quarterly meetings. And so I became more conversant on the topic of financial management, and ultimately I decided to pursue an MBA. I knew that I had to sharpen it even further. But notice, again, it does not have to be something that is a graduate degree to be effective in addressing a challenge. If for you it's financial acumen, maybe your very specific tactic over the next month or 2 is to sit down with the expert at your organization and help you address an area of challenge. Hopefully that makes sense in terms of a 2-part sequence here. You've got your assessment of the 10 skills and experiences. You've now organized them around strengths and challenges for you and prioritized. And once you've put those priorities on paper, you begin to activate specific tactics to address, either elevate your strengths or address your challenges through a specific activity, learning, a course, a book, whatever it is required for you to feel like you're making progress, and not simply putting it on the back burner so that you'll come to this conclusion a year from now. If you're struggling with public speaking, if you're struggling with financial acumen, it's not going to get better unless you do something about it. What are you going to do in the next 90 days around these challenges? What are you going to do to build upon your strengths, which all encompass a professional development plan? Now, to complete the SCOT analysis, you're probably wondering the other 2 letters that remain, opportunities and threats. Many of you have done a classic SWOT analysis, or what I'm calling SCOT analysis, for your business. And you do that as an organization. What are the organizational opportunities that you should consider? Well, the same thing applies to you personally. And I would ask you to consider a thought exercise around what are the opportunities that could happen in your organization. Now, again, this does not have to be a negative scenario. The opportunity might be, what if someone leaves at your organization that is above you on the ladder? Could that be an opportunity for you? And what would you need to do to get ready for that? What about a lateral move within your organization? If an opening occurred there, what would you need to be a competitive candidate for a job elsewhere in your organization? A similar opportunity might come within your sector, outside your organization, of course. But what would it take for you to be a competitive candidate to move into a slightly larger organization, or perhaps at a more elevated leadership role, if such an opportunity emerged? And the sad reality is there is turnover in the nonprofit sector, perhaps more than any other. But that challenge for the sector could be an opportunity for you. And so you might want to give some intentional thought about what would the opportunities be in your community that you would make a jump for. What kind of opportunity would emerge? And if it does, would you be ready? Now, similarly, you could consider other parameters. We talk about in the Mastermind program a vision framework. So it may be opportunities within your community. We also talk about what are your geographic parameters. Where would you move to if the right opportunity emerged? Some of you, of course, may be place-bound for good reason. Your family, other commitments don't allow you to consider things outside of your community. Others of you may be in a position to move. All right, well, what communities, what markets might you entertain if an opportunity were to arise? The point of this exercise is to not just vaguely think about, well, I hope someday an opportunity will emerge, but be more intentional. What types of opportunities would you consider? Put them down on your grid. And so that when that opportunity does arrive, you will have at least thought about it, and you will have to consider what you would need to do to be ready. Now, similarly, the threat quadrant, the fourth and final quadrant for your personal SCOT analysis, that has kind of a more ominous tone. But let's face it, we have to be ready in life for those things that may come at us. Again, a sudden departure of our boss. What if our organization was merged or acquired with another? How would that affect you? What if your job was eliminated? I hate to contemplate such a pessimistic scenario, but I would suggest as a strategic planner, and you have to be a strategic planner for your own career, you have to think about what if something happened that eliminated my current position. New boss comes in. New boss brings her own leadership team with her. You might be on the outs. And so what would you do to manage and move if necessary? So I don't want to dwell on the negative or the pessimistic scenarios, but just like your organization has to consider threat scenarios and what it would do if such a scenario emerged, you have to do the same thing. And if you had to make a change, is your resume ready to move? If you had to move quickly, how would you respond to such a situation? And hopefully the exercise is one you won't have to contemplate, but I think it gives you more confidence that you could manage even if a crisis were to emerge and force your hand in a professional sense. Well, I hope you're able to take mental notes as you ponder this exercise I'm giving you for a summer. Maybe it's a journaling exercise that I've given you a prompt to play with. But again, this is a good summer tune-up. Use the 10 skills and experiences as a self-assessment. That can be part one. Where do you stand in each of these 10 areas? Number two, which are the strengths that you can build upon? And then what are the weaknesses or challenges you need to address? And then finally, part three of this exercise is to give some intentional thought to the opportunities that could emerge in your organization, in your sector, in your community, and consider the threats that might impact you, your organization, your job, your position, and so that you will have at least a head start in considering those opportunities. And you know what? This all makes for a good conversation with a networking peer, a colleague, a friend who maybe is in a similar boat to you. Use this as a conversation starter. Meet them for coffee. Talk about how they address or assess each of these areas and how they would manage opportunities or threats that emerge in their community, at their organization. And I hope that'll help you. Of course, if you want to go to our show notes, I'm going to have links to the episode that provides more detail on those 10 skills and experiences. Also, if you're interested in applying for the free spot to our fall mastermind as a gift for applying, you can get this worksheet. In fact, you can simply email me directly. I'd be happy to share it with you and give you something to work on and do that summer tune-up. I want you to have some vacation time this summer, of course. You deserve it. You've been going very hard. But use some of the quiet time this summer. Spend some time on yourself. Reflect on your career, your skills, your experiences, so that you can, in fact, move in the direction you want to on the path to nonprofit leadership. Well, as always, don't forget the show notes. This is episode number 115. We have a brand new landing page for the Mastermind program. So all the things I've been discussing with you today, you can find out more. It'll be linked there. You can find out about the early bird special by August 1st, 2021, the contest, which closes on August 19, 2021, and everything else that I have mentioned, and of course, other resources that you can find on our website. Thank you in advance for sharing this episode with somebody else on the path. And don't forget, if you haven't, subscribe to the podcast. Make sure you get it every Thursday morning. That's when these episodes come out, as well as bonus features we are producing at least once a month. Again, episode number 56 will give you more detail on the 10 skills and experiences. And most importantly, thanks for all you're doing in the nonprofit sector, especially right now. And keep up the good work for causes that are most meaningful to you. I'll keep bringing you content that can help you do it even better. Have a great week, and I'll see you next time on The Path.